It is possible that Raila Odinga is the man who will decide who becomes the deputy president in this country. And it is possible he is holding all his cards with one hand and is choosing which card to play. If he loses the AUC seat, I am assuring you and I am assuring Kenyans here that Ruto will have a hard time going to 2027. Ruto will have all the motivation to choose a deputy president from the Nyanza area, probably Gladys Wanga, so that he can contain the Nyanza people and appease them, because their son has lost the AUC seat, and it is also a way to tame Raila Odinga behind him and to try and galvanize support from the Nyanza region, because he knows Raila can easily flip the card. Raila can easily walk away from Ruto. This is a marriage of convenience. Ruto has enemies, political enemies on all sides. To his front, he has Gen Zs. Behind him, he has Raila Odinga holding a knife to his back. To his right side, he has Gachagua, who is now his first enemy, sworn enemy. To his left, he has the Mount Kenya Mafia. On top of him, Ruto has a crumbling economy that is pressing down on him. So tell me how he's going to survive. He's out of options, out of cards, and he's trying to use this DP position as a card to manipulate the country, to bargain with in several regions, and he's taking his time with it. I don't think he's in a rush to choose Kindiki or anyone else to deputize him.
Disclaimer: the opinions expressed by our esteemed guest on this show is solely their own and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Plug TV, its affiliates, or the production team. We kindly request our viewers to approach the opinions shared on this show with an open mind, considering them as individual viewpoints rather than absolute truths. We encourage you to conduct further research and engage in conversations beyond this program to form a well-rounded understanding of the topics discussed.
As a possible candidate for the deputy presidency, because he sees them as a people who can deliver less votes to him. I mean, how can you ditch a vote-rich region like Mount Kenya, 4 million votes, for a region like Northeastern that can deliver to you around 2 million or 1 million votes? I mean, that is ridiculous. It is part of the reason why possibly he will not choose, say, a Kamba or a guy from the coast region as a deputy president, because he still looks at politics from the metrics of tribalism, and from his analysis, he wants a guy or a lady, for that matter, who can deliver enough tribal votes, because the older politician is still tribal. So with that tribal analysis, I don't think Ruto has the motivation to choose Duale. I don't think Ruto has the motivation to choose anyone from coast, whether Hassan Omar, Ali Joe, or anyone from coast, including Muhammad Ali or anyone else the coast region listens to. I don't think he has the motivation to choose a deputy president from the eastern region. I don't think he has, I think he has all the motivation to choose a deputy president from the Luo people, I mean from the Nyanza area, from the western region.
And you have forgotten Kindiki, Kithure Kindiki.
Kithure Kindiki is from Mount Kenya East. To be frank, Mount Kenya East have a lesser population and a lesser voting basket as compared to Mount Kenya West. If you was to get another deputy from Mount Kenya, possibly would have a guy from Mount Kenya West. And people think that because Kindiki is popular, Ruto will automatically make him a deputy president. I would shock you that Gachagua was not as popular as he is today when Ruto picked him to deputize him. People did not even know who Gachagua is. It is possible that Ruto can pick Mwangi Kiunjuri of TSP as his deputy president. I mean, Mwangi Kiunjuri ticks several boxes. He could easily become a deputy president. It is also possible that Ruto could pick another one-term MP from Central Kenya. They do not have a shortage of the same, because the Central Kenya people almost vote out half of their MPs out almost every other election cycle. The same applies to the IMCS. So it does not have a shortage of puppets from the Mount Kenya region he can choose from. But I'm saying, I don't think he's in a hurry to choose a deputy president as it is. He wants to read the mood of the country. He wants to make this decision right, and he wants to get the right person for that job. And the right person to him has to be someone who delivers enough tribal votes, has to be someone who's less aggressive, has to be someone who is at his beck and call, and has to be someone he can manipulate and control. Those are some of the factors that Ruto is looking at. And it is possible that he's going to dilly-dally till May or April 2025, till the elections for the AUC seat are done and dusted, so that he can now decide whether to choose a deputy president from the Nyanza region or a deputy president from the central region. Because if Raila loses the AUC seat in 2025, Ruto will have all the motivation to choose a deputy president from the Nyanza area, probably Gladys Wanga, so that he can contain the Nyanza people and appease them, because their son has lost the AUC seat. And it is also a way to tame Raila Odinga behind him, and to try and galvanize support from the Nyanza region, because he knows Raila can easily flip the card. Raila can easily walk away from Ruto. This is a marriage of convenience. It is a marriage of necessity. Raila is not here in Ruto's government because he loves Ruto. In fact, he is among the people who hate Ruto more than the Gen Zs think they hate Ruto. And people think that Gachagua is besieged, but they have forgotten that if there is anyone who is belingered here, it is the president. Ruto has enemies, political enemies on all sides. To his front, he has Gen Zs. Behind him, he has Raila Odinga holding a knife to his back. To his right side, he has Gachagua, who is now his first enemy, sworn enemy. To his left, he has the Mount Kenya Mafia. On top of him, Ruto has a crumbling economy that is pressing down on him. So tell me how he's going to survive. He's out of options, out of cards, and he's trying to use this DP position as a card to manipulate the country, to bargain with in several regions, and he's taking his time with it. I don't think he's in a rush to choose Kindiki or anyone else to deputize him.
So generally unasema the person who's going to determine who's the next deputy president will be Raila Odinga at the end of the day.
It is possible that Raila Odinga is the man who will decide who becomes the deputy president in this country. And it is possible he is holding all his cards with one hand and is choosing which card to play. If he loses the AUC seat, I am assuring you and I am assuring Kenyans here that Ruto will have a hard time going to 2027, that Raila has not resigned from politics. It is so easy for Raila to wake up today and tell his ODM people, we are going against Ruto from this moment. I am going for the presidency. That man has never grown tired of running and vying for the presidency. How many times has Raila vied for the presidency? How would this year be so special that he has to resign from the presidency forthwith? That he now relinquishes all interest in the presidency after all pushing his entire life to get to the presidency, after yearning, after thirsting, after waiting, after clamoring, after fighting to get to the presidency. Do you think he has all the motivation to drop his presidency bid just because he lost the AUC seat, just because he told Kenyans he's retired? How many times has he said he has retired and he comes back? How many times has Raila said this, then says something different the next morning? To politicians, it is always about them, about their convenience, about what pleases them, what works for them. If Raila decides to vie for the presidency in 2027 because he has lost the AUC seat, Ruto has all the motivation to choose a deputy president from Homa Bay, from Nyanza, from Siaya, from Kisumu, just to tame Raila Odinga, just to divide the Nyanza region, because the Nyanza region has been so solid behind Raila Odinga for close to 20 years. I don't think there's any other politician in this country who has enjoyed that support. For close to 20 years, they die with Raila Odinga. For close to 20 years, they fight for that man. For close to 20 years, they die for that man. They fight to their last blood, and they demonstrate on the streets with passion for that man. So you tell me how Ruto is going to tame Raila after Raila possibly has lost the AUC seat in 2025, because it is not guaranteed that Raila Odinga will win the AUC seat. I've been close to so many analysts who say that it is not a walk in the park, that the Djibouti candidate is strong enough to take over North Africa and some swing votes from the southern part of Africa, and that would be enough to clinch the AUC seat. So where does that leave Raila Odinga? That leaves Raila Odinga with the East African community. How many votes does the East African community guarantee? How many? How many? So you see, the southern part, SADC, could decide to side with ECOWAS. It is so easy because possibly they see this as a chance to pay back to ECOWAS when ECOWAS supported, who was this president from South Africa who was made the AUC chairman?
We have
I'm not sure if it was Jacob Juma, but the ECOWAS side has given support to the south side.
the short guy alikuwa na nywele za white.
They have the motivation to give back to ECOWAS. They don't see EAC as a block enough. They don't see EAC as a block that is a possible say power rival.
Yeah.
The EAC has close to 8 countries. ECOWAS and the western part in North Africa has close to 20 countries. And that is motivation enough for South Africa and the southern countries to support the Djibouti candidate, because they are seeing this as an opportunity to plow now and reap in the future when they would have a Southern African candidate. And they would have said, EAC walipewa chance yao and they messed up. Politics cuts across all regions, all countries, and the interest is the same. Mtu wetu hapo, mtu wetu wako hadi international. Hata Djibouti wanataka mtu wao, North Africa, Western Africa, mtu wetu. And you see, it cuts across. And if Raila loses the AUC seat in 2025, Ruto will have all the motivation to choose a candidate from Nyanza. And I'm saying this as a speculation. I do not have the monopoly of wisdom or the monopoly of foreshadowing. We're just talking and we're just trying to reason things out so that we see the options Ruto has, even though I am dissatisfied with Ruto and I do not want him to have these options. If it were for me, I would rally all Gen Zs and the entire country to hit the streets as early as tomorrow so that we can take this guy home, because he does not have a deputy now. The king is naked. We need to take Ruto out. We should not give him room to maneuver. We should not give him room to recalculate and re-strategize, because when he does that, we are finished. When he does that, he will tame us. What if Ruto picks a Gen Z deputy president? People have not seen that coming. I am saying this as a speculation, but what if he does that? So will all Gen Zs now say we are in government now? We have a deputy president now. What if Ruto decides to dissolve the cabinet in 2025 and appoints 3 or 4 Gen Zs in parliament, in cabinet, those who will be so vocal? What if he decides to chase away some nominated guys in UDA and in the parties that form Kenya Kwanza and nominate Gen Zs in those positions, in those slots? What would you say about that? What if he picks a Gen Z deputy president? What will you say? What will Kenyans say? Will the conversation change? Will Ruto now be a good guy? So these are the things people should start looking at, and we should not be comfortable with whatever games Ruto and the rest of the political elite are playing. Those are their games. That is their headache. That is their problem. It is not our problem. Our problem is them, and they should go home. If we had the IBC Today plug, I am assuring you, Gen Zs would have started the process to recall their MPs. They have not forgotten. People thought that Gen Zs will forget about that our MPs are wrong, but we still want to recall them. I still want to recall and support and help Gen Zs recall MPs who failed us at the finance bill and who have failed us with SHA. We still want to take the president home. We want him impeached. We want him to resign. We want him gone. We've not forgotten. Our passion is strong. Our zeal, our enthusiasm rivals that of MPs when they were so enthusiastic and overzealous to take out Gachagua in parliament the other day. Our energy beats them. Our energy outmatches them. We are so focused, we are so spirited, and we want a better country. We want them gone. Their political games should not take much of our airtime, much of space in our heads. we as Gen Zs should, and the rest of the country should strategize on how to reclaim and win our country back. We had the first independence in 1963, the second independence in the 90s. We are supposed to push for a third independence today, 2024, that will culminate in another president, a different cabinet, a different set of legislators, both in Senate and in the National Assembly, and a different set of parastatal heads. We need to push that conversation. We can get it if we want it. It does not matter how long it takes. A revolution can take sometimes a longer time than we have anticipated. It could take 5 years, it could take 10 years, it could take 2 months, it could take 2 weeks, it could take 1 day. But the passion, the consistency, the resilience, the tenacity to get ourselves moving is what will determine whether our revolution will be aborted, whether we will give birth to a dead revolution, a stillbirth child, or we will deliver a bouncing baby boy that is a new Kenya. Our commitment, our resilience, our focus, our enthusiasm will deliver the Kenya we want. A Kenya that is less tribal, a Kenya that is less corrupt, a Kenya that values meritocracy, a Kenya that is issue-based, and a Kenya that is full of prosperity, economic-wise and moral-wise and social-wise.
What option does he have to, to choose the next deputy president now? If Raila wins the seat, that is.
Ruto does not have a motivation to choose a deputy president because he is seeing these deputy presidents as a hindrance, as a hurdle he has to climb over to get to 2027. And he's hard pressed to choose a deputy president he can trust and a deputy president he can control. He is not in a hurry. I am seeing a situation where the president could go up to 2026. These are my speculations. Could go up to 2026 without a deputy president and possibly appoints a deputy president in his last year as president in his first term, so that this deputy president has not had the chance or does not have the chance to build himself politically. A deputy president that does not have a chance to create wealth or steal wealth or amass wealth, because I have seen through my analysis that leaders in this country grow rich depending on the position you hold. An MP will grow by millions within some years, but a deputy president will grow by billions. See, with greater power, a deputy president has greater access to almost every ministry, every parastatal in this country, every corporation. He has a greater reach to steal more. Still here, still from Kenya Airways, still from KenGen, still from KPLC, still from Ministry of Labor, still from Ministry of Gender Affairs, still from Ministry of Education, still from Ministry of Treasury, not Treasury, still from Ministry of Education. He has a greater reach as a deputy president to steal from every other parastatal, every other ministry. But an MP is probably constrained to his CDF money and a few tenders he can get in government. But a deputy president has access to almost all government tenders and has access to monies in almost all parastatals and ministries in government. That is possibly the reason why Gachagua was able to amass billions in 2 years, whereas Kindiki amassed millions as a cabinet secretary, and some MPs amassed millions as MPs, because they do not have the position the deputy has. They do not have the free reign to access this ministry, that parastatal, this other parastatal. So Ruto is keen on having someone who's not too ambitious and is keen not to build anyone. Because if he chooses a deputy president too early, atampea chance ya kujijenga, na kujijenga ya Kenya ni kuiba. Because there's still enough money to be able to mobilize MPs to rally support behind them. That is what Ruto did. He stole enough money to pay MPs and bribe them to mobilize support for him. Who doesn't know that MPs from the central region and other regions in Kenya were being called to Karen, and they were gifted with brown envelopes so as to support his cause? Who doesn't know that the Kenya Kwanza government dished out so much money? Who doesn't know that the Kenya Kwanza government called student leaders and other leaders from this country to the Karen residents for brown envelopes? And even the church, the current president called bishops and clerics to Karen, and they were walking off with brown envelopes, and it is a matter of public interest, and it is a matter that is in the public domain. We know this, and the church has is now shedding off the bad name that it accrued by associating itself with the president and by getting money from the president and delivering a bad president to Kenya. There is that bishop and I am not sure if he's a bishop or a reverend going viral on social media spaces for saying the church should now wake up and open their eyes. They already delivered a bad child to Kenya, that the church should now call out Ruto for the bad president he is. They should call him out for being tribal and being corrupt. So the church was captured by the president and is now opening its eyes to what they did and how evil they were to receive money from the president and to drum up support for a guy they knew was bad. So you see, as I was saying, the president does not have the motivation to choose a deputy president this early, and if he does, he has to choose someone is in a position to control, is in a position to threaten and scare. Gachagua was a man you could not scare, a man you could not intimidate, and he was a man who was almost familiar with every other sector of government because he's been in government since the 80s when Moi was president. He understands governance. He understands all the loopholes of government. He knows where to get money. This tap, this other tap, this other tap, this other outlet. Fungua hapa pesa itoke, fungua hapa pesa itoke, fungua hapa pesa itoke. Ruto cannot have that. He does not want that. So it is possible that he will not choose a deputy president for the period we have, possibly till 2025 or 2026, and it is also possible that Ruto will choose a deputy president he can control. And I think Kithure Kindiki is also a man Ruto can control, because prove me wrong, does Kithure Kindiki scare you? Kithure Kindiki is toothless. He's another Bosco, just like Musalia Mudavadi. Guys who back so aggressively, lakini ukiingia kwa hiyo compound, that dog runs and hides and attends somewhere. These are guys that are not a real scare to any big politician. By big, I'm talking of politicians who have the clout Ruto and Raila has. These politicians, the soft ones like Akina Kindiki, cannot scare Ruto. He is a guy Ruto can easily deal with, because Ruto has molded Kindiki from a nobody to somebody, and he's been at the center stage of the rise of Kithure Kindiki, and he knows Kithure Kindiki is not vindictive and vengeful, and he knows Kithure Kindiki is not a good mobilizer and he's not a good campaigner, and Ruto wants that. That is why he's always close to Musalia Mudavadi. I mean, at one point, Musalia Mudavadi was CS for Foreign Affairs and he was a prime minister. One, he was earning money from a position that is unconstitutional, that is the cabinet secretary position. I mean, the prime cabinet secretary position, that is the prime minister position. And he was also earning money as a CS for tourism and foreign affairs. Or I mean, a CS for foreign affairs. Two jobs to one guy in a country that is overly unemployed. It doesn't make sense. So we are seeing a situation where we have a president who has a deputy presidency position to Dankol, to almost every other region, and he has all the motivation to take his time to choose the next deputy president wisely, because he knows this will be his downfall or the reason why he gets voted in again in 2027. And there's one other issue I would like to tackle. I mean, two other issues. One is the way forward for Gen Zs, and secondly is on the current crop of activists that we have in this country. As an activist myself who's been consistent for close to 10 years, if you go through my social media pages and accounts on Facebook and on X, I joined TikTok the other day because I was uncomfortable with TikTok when the content that was being broadcasted and aired on TikTok and posted on TikTok was not my cup of tea. Now TikTok is the epicenter of revolution in the current times we have today. But before this, TikTok was same as Instagram, was consuming gossip, consuming hearsay, consuming rumors, consuming entertainment videos, consuming twerking videos and dancing videos, consuming late night parental content in the wee hours of the morning, when some Kenyans were parading themselves there naked doing some things I could not mention. TikTok was another Sodom and Gomorrah. Now you see, there was a point the MPs wanted to ban TikTok because of what was happening on TikTok. And I am happy today that they did not ban TikTok, because the revolution will not be televised on TikTok. We would have killed an app that has come to our aid when we need it the most, because TikTok gives you a short clip that has the right message you want to have. So it is a good situation we find ourselves in, that TikTok has survived the wave and the hate from the politicians when they saw TikTok as useless. That is part of the reason I joined TikTok late. But if you go through my social media accounts on Facebook and on X, my name on Facebook is James Mulamba. My hashtag, not hashtag, my username on X is at Wambua James _ you'd see my consistency for close to 9 years on how I have been vocal about bad governance, on how our MPs are misrepresenting us, on how they have failed with oversight and representation, on how they suck at legislation, MPs who've not brought any bill in parliament, MPs who do not understand our laws and our bylaws, MPs who do not understand bills that are tabled in parliament, and MPs who usually exist as MPs when they receive their salaries. I also talked about senators who sanitize counties when they are stealing public funds. I also talked about rogue presidents that we have had, talked about how Uhuru was plundering this country, all since from 2016. Talked about how we should not have voted for Ruto, and how and warned Kenyans not to vote for Ruto. I talked about why we need a referendum as a country. I talked about why we need better laws to curb corruption. I talked about why we need to be more involved with political matters when my generation was not willing to consume politics. They were probably too distracted with weekends and happy moments in Naivasha and in popular clubs all around the country, when my age mates cared more for loyalty tests than for governance, when my age mates cared more for weekendy and bash and parties than they cared for a better MP and a better president. We were here. I am not alone. There are so many activists who've been around for a long time. Some of them do not have a big name. Like myself, I am trying to build into that. But we have clowns that have easily come the other day and have built a name for themselves for probably being the loudest shouters, being the best at mimicking the president, because Morara is a guy who rose to fame by mimicking the president. I mean, there's no difference between Morara and Mr. KK mwenyewe. That guy was mimicking Rigathi Gachagua. What is the difference? It is just because KK mwenyewe did not have a political angle to it, that is, he does not have the political clout that Morara has. But Morara has not been an activist before this year. Where was he?
But we have an old video of him, he's a KU alumni. And you can see him trying to, defend the rights of the students at that time.